The jazz music never stopped, even after the gunshot. That was the detail Clara remembered most later. Not the screaming, not the blood, not the way people dropped beneath tables like dominoes. The music kept playing. Soft piano, slow trumpet, elegant enough to make violence feel unreal for half a second. And half a second was all it took to ruin her life. Rain battered downtown Chicago the night Rafael Moretti walked into Belladonna Lounge. Everyone noticed. Nobody stared. That was the rule with men like him. The hostess straightened immediately. The bartender suddenly moved faster. Even wealthy businessmen lowered their voices subtly as Rafael crossed the restaurant floor. Power changed oxygen in a room. Clara Moreno hated that. She balanced 3 whiskey glasses on a silver tray while watching him from across the lounge. Black suit. No tie. Dark hair slightly wet from rain. He didn't walk like rich men usually did. Too calm. Too controlled. Like he expected danger everywhere and got disappointed when it failed to appear. Belladonna Lounge served politicians, celebrities, judges, and criminals pretending to be businessmen. Clara survived by treating them all exactly the same. Which meant, take order, deliver drink, leave immediately. No flirting, no lingering, no involvement, especially not with men surrounded by bodyguards. One of Rafael's security men scanned the restaurant carefully before nodding once. Clear. Rafael sat alone in the private corner booth near the stage. Interesting. Most powerful men arrived with women, or entourages, or egos large enough to fill the room. Rafael arrived carrying only silence. Clara approached carefully. What can I get you? Gray eyes lifted toward her. Cold eyes. Tired eyes. Whiskey. What kind? Something honest. She blinked once. That's not technically a whiskey type. Tiny pause. Then unexpectedly, the corner of his mouth moved slightly. Almost a smile. Dealer's choice then. Interesting. Clara nodded once and walked away. Behind the bar, Marcus immediately whispered, You know who that is, right? Rich guy with unresolved childhood issues? Marcus nearly choked. That's Rafael Moretti. She shrugged. Okay. Clara, that man basically owns half the city. Then he can afford good whiskey. Marcus stared at her like she was clinically insane. Probably fair. Clara prepared the drink herself. Small batch bourbon. No ice. Neat pour. Something sharp without being cruel. When she returned to Rafael's booth, he was reading something on his phone with complete stillness. Not relax. Prepare. Like Valence could arrive at any second and he already made peace with it years ago. Clara set the glass down. Try this. Rafael picked it up slowly. Tasted once. Then looked at her again. Most people bring expensive whiskey when they're trying to impress me. You asked for honest whiskey. Expensive and honest usually don't coexist. That almost smile appeared again. Done quickly. What's your name? Flora. No last name. You buying whiskey or my biography? This time he actually smiled slightly. Smell. Real. And suddenly Clara understood something dangerous. This man almost never smiled. A bodyguard approached the table carefully. Boss, the councilman is running late. Rafael didn't look away from Clara. Of course he is. The bodyguard hesitated. Then quietly. There's another issue. Rafael's expression changed instantly. Cold again. Outside. The bodyguard nodded once. Interesting. Clara started stepping away immediately. Nope. Absolutely not. Mafia conversations were above her pay grade. But before she left, Rafael spoke quietly. Keep the bottle nearby. She nodded once. Sure. As Clara walked back toward the bar, she noticed something strange. A man near the stage, mid-30s, gray coat, watching Rafael too carefully. Not drinking. Not eating. Just waiting. Clara frowned slightly. Restaurant staff learned to read people quickly. And that man moved wrong. Nervous hands. Rigid shoulders. Eyes constantly checking exits. Predatory tension. Her stomach tightened instinctively. Marcus noticed her expression. What? That guy near the stage. Marcus glanced over casually. Looks normal. No. He looks like he's deciding something. Marcus rolled his eyes. You watch too many crime documentaries. Maybe. Still. Clara kept watching him while serving tables. The man slowly reached inside his coat. And suddenly, everything clicked. Dear God. Time slowed violently. The man stood abruptly. Chair crashing backward. Several guests turned too late. The gun appeared. Silenced pistol. Pointed directly at Rafael Moretti. Clara didn't think. Didn't plan. Didn't calculate consequences. She moved. Vest. She slammed directly into Rafael's side. The gun fired. Pain exploded through her shoulder instantly. White hot. Blinding. The restaurant erupted into chaos. Guests screamed. Glasses shattered. Bodyguards pulled weapons instantly. Gunfire exploded across Belladonna Lounge. Clara hit the floor hard beside Rafael's booth. Warm blood spread rapidly down her arm. Her hearing blurred. Somewhere above her. Shouting. Bodies moving. More gunshots. Rafael grabbed her immediately. Strong hands. Steady. Stay awake. His voice sounded different now. Not cold. Terrified. Interesting. The assassin tried firing again. Rafael's bodyguard shot him twice through the chest. Silence crashed across the lounge. Only the jazz music still played softly in the background. Clara tried sitting up. Pain ripped through her shoulder violently. Don't move. Rafael pressed his hand against her wound hard enough to stop bleeding. His expensive suit became covered in her blood instantly. He didn't care. Gray eyes locked onto hers with frightening intensity. Why did you do that? Clara's vision blurred. Good question. She laughed weakly despite the pain. You still owe me for the whiskey. For one stunned second, Rafael Moretti actually looked speechless. Then Clara passed out in his arms. Clara woke to the sound of arguing. Not staying here. She took a bullet for you, Rafael. I'm aware. She is a civilian. That's exactly why this is a problem. Her head pounded violently. Hospital lights burned against her eyes while pain throbbed through her shoulder like a second heartbeat. Wonderful. Still alive. Unfortunate timing, honestly. Clara opened her eyes slowly. The arguing stopped instantly. Two men stood near the hospital window. Rafael Moretti and one of his bodyguards. Both turned toward her immediately. Rafael crossed the room first. That. Too fast for a man who normally moved like ice. How bad? Clara croaked. The bullet passed through. Lucky me. You lost a dangerous amount of blood. And yet somehow Chicago survives. Something changed in Rafael's face again. That almost smile. Tiny. Disbelieving. Like he couldn't understand how someone bleeding in a hospital still managed sarcasm. The bodyguard near the window spoke carefully. I'll give you a moment, boss. Then left quietly. The room became still. Rain tapped softly against the hospital windows outside. Clara noticed Rafael hadn't changed clothes. Blood stained his cuffs. His sleeves. His hands. Her blood. You stay. The question escaped before she could stop it. Rafael looked at her evenly. Yes. What? That actually seemed to catch him off guard. Because you were shot. People get shot in Chicago every day. You were shot saving me. Silence. Clara looked away first. Right. That part. Rafael pulled a chair beside the hospital bed slowly. Controlled again now. But exhaustion sat behind his eyes. Heavy exhaustion. How's the assassin? Clara asked. No hesitation. No emotion. Just fact. She nodded slowly. Expected. Rafael studied her carefully. You're taking this unusually well. I work double shifts in downtown Chicago. At some point you stop expecting reasonable evenings. Another tiny, almost smile. Then it vanished. Rafael leaned forward slightly. Why did you do it? There it was again. The question. Clara sighed weakly. I don't know. Yes, you do. No. I genuinely don't. Which was true. Because now that the adrenaline disappeared, she couldn't explain it either. She barely knew him. A dangerous man. A customer. Nothing more. Yet she moved anyway. Rafael's voice lowered carefully. Most people run away from bullets. Most people aren't carrying trays professionally. Maybe I just reacted badly. That almost made him laugh. Almost. Instead, he looked toward the rain outside. People usually protect themselves first. Clara stared at him quietly. Interesting sentence. Not because of what he said. Because of how personal it sounded. Like someone who learned that lesson painfully. She shifted slightly. Then hissed as pain tore through her shoulder again. Rafael immediately stood. Don't move. His reaction was instant. Protective. Too protective. Interesting. A nurse entered seconds later checking monitors. The moment she noticed Rafael, her posture changed subtly. Fear. There it was again. Everyone feared him. Even here. The nurse adjusted Clara's Roman IV carefully. You'll need several weeks recovery. Clara physically froze. No. The nurse blinked. Excuse me? I can't miss work. Rafael looked at her sharply. You were shot. And rent still exists. The nurse left awkwardly after checking medications. Silence settled again. Then Rafael asked quietly. How much? Clara frowned. What? Your rent? No. It's not charity. Yes, it is. It's compensation. For getting shot in your restaurant? His jaw tightened slightly. Interesting. Sensitive subject. Rafael reached inside his coat slowly and placed an envelope beside her hospital bed. Thick envelope. Very thick. Clara stared at it. Then at him. No. It's for your recovery. No. Flora. No. The refusal came sharper now. Real anger underneath it. Rafael noticed immediately. What? Because money for men like him always came attached to invisible chains. Because her father spent years drowning in debt after accepting help from dangerous people. Because once powerful men paid for your survival. They started believing they owned pieces of you. Clara looked directly at him. Take it back. Rafael stayed still. Nobody refuses money when they need it. Then maybe you don't know the right people. The room became quiet again. Heavy quiet. Rafael studied her face carefully. Not angry now. Confused. Like she broke some internal rule he expected the world to follow. You almost die. And you think that means I owe you obedience? That isn't what this is. Then what is this? Finally. Honesty cracked through his expression. Small but real. Something I don't know how to repay. That answer hit harder than expected. Because suddenly Rafael Moretti didn't sound powerful. He sounded lost. Clara looked away toward the rain. Dangerous moment. Dangerous because sympathy started forming where fear should have stayed. Then movement outside the hospital door caught her attention. Two armed men stood there. Watching. Security. Her stomach dropped. You station guards outside my room? Yes. Absolutely not. The assassination attempt failed. And that means someone may try again. Cold spread through her chest. Right. She forgot Mafia logic for 5 minutes. Wonderful. Clara looked toward Rafael carefully. This doesn't become permanent. It won't. You promise? Rafael hesitated. Tiny pause. Wrong answer. Clara saw it instantly. Oh my God. It's temporary. You people always say temporary before ruining someone's life. His eyes sharpened slightly. You think I ruin lives? The room temperature changed subtly. Dangerous question. But Clara was exhausted, drugged, and shot. Fear required energy she didn't currently possess. Yes. Silence. Rafael stood completely still. Then quietly, almost painfully quietly, he asked, "How many lives do you think I've ruined?" The question lingered heavily between them. Because suddenly, he didn't sound defensive. He sounded like a man terrified of the answer. Clara didn't answer immediately. Because the truth was, she didn't actually know. Men like Rafael Moretti existed more as rumors than people. Newspapers called them businessmen, philanthropists, investors. The city called them something else entirely. But sitting in a hospital room at 2 in the morning while he stared at her like a man carrying invisible weight, he suddenly felt less like a legend, and more like someone dangerously human. Clara looked toward the rain-streaked window. I think powerful people stop counting eventually. Rafael stayed silent. Interesting. Most men with power defended themselves instantly. Rafael just listened. Then after a long moment, he spoke quietly. My father used to say guilt is a privilege. Only innocent people have time for it. Clara frowned slightly. That's depressing. He was not an optimistic man. Something in his voice changed when mentioning his father. Cold memory. Old wound. Clara noticed instantly. Because pain recognized pain quickly. The hospital room fell quiet again until her phone buzzed beside the bed. Marcus. Right. Belladonna Lounge probably exploded into gossip by now. Clara answered carefully. If. Marcus immediately shouted. You got shot. She wins. Yes. Very observant. Clara, the internet already knows. Somebody leaked security footage. Her stomach dropped instantly. No, Marcus continued panicking. There are literally reporters outside Belladonna asking about the Mafia shooting. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Clara closed her eyes briefly. What exactly leaked? A video of you tackling Rafael Moretti like some action movie maniac. Rafael looked mildly interested now. Clara glared at him automatically. This was technically his fault. Marcus lowered his voice suddenly. Is he there? Rafael calmly held out his hand. Clara blinked. What? The phone. No. Clara. You're not talking to Marcus. Rafael's expression almost softened again. Almost. Interesting how close this man constantly existed to emotions without fully reaching them. Marcus whispered loudly through the speaker. Oh my God, he is there. Clara hung up immediately. Silence. Then unexpectedly, Rafael laughed softly. Actual laugh. Look. Brief. Real. Clara stared at him in shock. There it is. He looked toward her carefully. What? You're apparently capable of human emotions. That earned another tiny laugh. Dear God. Chicago would collapse if people discovered this man smiled twice in one night. Then suddenly, the hospital door opened. One of Rafael's bodyguards entered quickly. Serious expression. Thus, instant change. Rafael stood immediately. Cold again. Controlled again. What happened? We found another shooter. The room temperature dropped. Clara's pulse tightened painfully. Another. The bodyguard glanced toward her briefly before continuing. He escaped before security reached the alley. But we recovered his burner phone. Rafael's expression hardened dangerously. Connected. Yes. Silence. Then quietly. Inside. The bodyguard nodded once. Betrayal. Someone close to Rafael arranged the assassination. Clara understood instantly. And judging by Rafael's face, he already suspected that too. The bodyguard lowered his voice further. We should relocate her. Excuse me? Clara looked up sharply. No. Neither man acknowledged her. Wonderful. Rafael thought silently for several seconds. Then, no hospital transfer. Thus, no. His tone ended the discussion instantly. Interesting. The bodyguard reluctantly nodded, then left. Clara stared at Rafael carefully. What does inside mean? Rafael looked toward the window. It means someone close to me wanted me dead. He said it too calmly, too casually, like betrayal stopped surprising him years ago. Clara studied him quietly. How often does that happen? Another pause. Then, enough. That answer hurt more than expected, because nobody answered like that unless loneliness became normal. Clara shifted carefully in bed. You should leave. Rafael looked back toward her. No. People are trying to kill you. Yes. And apparently me now. Yes. So logically you should stop being near me. No. The immediate response startled her. Rafael noticed, then quietly added, You are involved whether you want to be or not. Clara laughed weakly. Fantastic. That's exactly how every terrible life decision starts. But deep down, fear finally started settling in. Real fear. Because this wasn't over. One shooter didn't miss accidentally. And powerful men didn't forget witnesses. Rafael walked toward the hospital window slowly. Chicago glowed outside in rain and neon. Cold city. Hungry city. After a long silence he asked, Do you have family nearby? My younger sister. Phoenix. Anyone here? No. Another silence. Then, you shouldn't go back to your apartment. Clara instantly tense. There it is. What? The controlling mafia nonsense. It's practical. It's insane. Someone shot you 12 hours ago. And now you want armed guards outside my bathroom too? If necessary. Clara stared at him in disbelief. You really don't understand normal people. That stopped him. Rafael slowly turned toward her again. And for the first time, actual frustration crossed his face. Normal people? Clara, normal people do not throw themselves in front of bullets. The words hit hard. Because maybe he was right. Maybe something about her broke that night too. Clara looked away. Maybe I'm just tired of watching bad things happen. Silence followed. Heavy silence. Then softly, Rafael asked, Who hurt you? The question landed carefully. Gently. Too gently. And suddenly Clara realized something terrifying. Rafael Moretti paid attention. Not surface attention. Real attention. The dangerous kind. She swallowed slowly. My father owed money to dangerous people. Rafael's expression changed instantly. Understanding. Of course he understood debt. He kept borrowing to pay hospital bills. Eventually those men stopped asking politely. Her voice stayed flat. Controlled. Years of practice. One night they beat him outside our apartment. I was 16. The hospital room went still. Rafael's jaw tightened slightly. Did he survive? For 6 months. Silence. Then quietly. Was it organized crime? Yes. Another long silence. Then Rafael asked the question carefully. Do you think I'm like them? Clara looked directly at him and answered honestly. I think you're trying very hard not to be. Rafael didn't move. Didn't speak. He simply stood beside the hospital window while Chicago rain slid down the glass behind him. I think you're trying very hard not to be. No one had ever said something like that to him before. Most people saw the suits, the bodyguards, the money, the violence. They decided what he was instantly. And maybe they were right. But Clara somehow looked past all of it. That was dangerous. For both of them. Rafael finally spoke quietly. You shouldn't say things like that to men like me. Clara leaned back carefully against the pillows. What? Because you might start believing them? His gray eyes sharpened slightly. There it was again. That strange tension between them. Not romance. Not fear. Recognition. Like both of them carried damage they understood without fully discussing. A phone vibrated in Rafael's pocket. He checked the screen once. Expression instantly hardening. Huh. A cold voice answered through speakerphone loud enough for Clara to hear. We found the leak. The hospital room became still. Rafael stepped farther toward the window. Science. Then, Marco Bellini. Clara saw it happen instantly. Not anger. Disappointment. Real disappointment. Rafael closed his eyes briefly. Marco matter. Are you certain? We intercepted payment transfers. He sold your location to the shooters. Clara watched Rafael carefully now. Because betrayal from strangers hurt differently than betrayal from people you trusted. And Rafael looked tired. Not shocked. Just tired. The voice continued. What are your orders? Silence filled the room. Heavy silence. Clara already knew what orders meant in Mafia language. Someone was about to die. Rafael stared out at the rain for several long seconds. Then quietly. Bring him alive. The man on the phone sounded surprised. This? Alive? The call ended. Clara stared at him. You're not killing him? Rafael looked toward her slowly. He was with me for 11 years. Interesting answer. Not forgiveness. Not mercy. Just history. Clara folded her arms carefully despite shoulder pain. So, betrayal still means something to you. His expression darkened slightly. Doesn't it to everyone? Fair point. The room fell quiet again until Rafael suddenly noticed something beside her bed. A sketchbook. Clara froze internally. Nope. Absolutely not. Rafael picked it up before she could stop him. That's private. He opened it anyway. Ruth. Several charcoal drawings filled the pages. City streets. Tired strangers on trains. Jazz musicians. Rainy windows. And one unfinished sketch of Belladonna Lounge. Rafael studied the drawings silently. You draw? No. I stress professionally. Another tiny almost smile. Then he turned another page. And stopped. Clara's stomach dropped instantly. Oh no. The sketch was him. Sitting alone in Belladonna Lounge with whiskey in hand. Drawn from memory. Wonderful. Fantastic. Time to fake death and relocate internationally. Rafael looked up slowly. You drew me. Clara wanted the hospital floor to swallow her whole. It was observational. Like nature documentaries. His eyes flicked back toward the sketch. You made me look tired. You were tired. Sighs. Then quietly. Most people draw me angry. The sentence hit unexpectedly hard. Because suddenly she imagined what Rafael's life actually looked like. Enemies. Betrayal. Constant performance. Everyone fearing him. Nobody seeing him as human long enough to notice exhaustion. Clara looked toward the rain outside. Maybe most people don't look carefully. Rafael stared at her for a long moment. Then carefully closed the sketchbook. Not mocking. Not dismissive. Careful. Like it mattered. The hospital door suddenly burst open. A nurse hurried inside nervously. Mr. Morty, there are reporters downstairs. Of course there were. Rafael's expression hardened again. How many? At least 20. Wonderful. Clara physically groaned. I hate this city. The nurse shifted awkwardly. They're asking about the waitress who saved you. Rafael immediately looked toward Clara. Protective instinct returning instantly. Interesting how automatic it became. The nurse continued carefully. One reporter already posted your apartment address online. Silence. Cold, dangerous silence. Clara's blood ran cold. No. Rafael reacted immediately. Get my driver. The nurse practically fled the room. Clara looked toward him sharply. No. You cannot return home. Yes, I can. Flora. No. You don't get to control my life because somebody with a gun missed. His voice lowered carefully. They will not miss twice. The truth in that sentence hit brutally hard. Clara suddenly realized this wasn't temporary anymore. Her face was online. Her apartment leaked. Reporters involved. The city now connected her to Rafael Moretti forever. Fear finally arrived completely. Real fear. Rafael noticed instantly. And something softened behind his eyes. Tiny. Human. He stepped closer carefully. Look at me. She didn't want to. Did anyway. I will keep you safe. The promise sounded absolute. Terrifyingly absolute. Clara swallowed hard. That's what scares me. For the first time all night. Rafael looked genuinely hurt. Tiny expression. Gone quickly. But she saw it. Because Clara paid attention too. Then suddenly. Shouting erupted outside the hospital room. Gunshots followed instantly. Both of them froze. Rafael moved fast. Impossible fast. He grabbed Clara and pulled her off the hospital bed just as bullets tore through the window behind them. Glass exploded across the room. Screams echoed through the hallway. Another assassination attempt. Inside the hospital, Rafael shielded Clara with his body while chaos erupted outside. Bodyguards shouted. More gunfire thundered. Clara's pulse exploded. This is insane. Rafael's expression became ice. Cold, deadly ice. Because now, this wasn't just about him anymore. Someone came after Clara directly. And judging by the darkness entering Rafael Moretti's eyes, whoever ordered it had just made the worst mistake of their life. Gunfire thundered through the hospital hallway. Bodyguards shouted over each other. Patients screamed. Glass crunched beneath hurried footsteps. Rafael kept Clara pinned safely behind the overturned hospital bed while bullets shattered equipment around them. His arm wrapped protectively around her shoulders. Steady. Controlled. To control. Like violence had become muscle memory years ago. Clara's pulse pounded violently. This is a hospital. Rafael checked the handgun one of his guards had shoved into his hand seconds earlier. They know. Another burst of gunfire exploded outside the room. Then suddenly. Silence. Heavy silence. Rafael immediately tensed harder. Bad sign. Because men like him feared silence more than noise. One of his bodyguards appeared at the doorway breathing heavily. Thus, Rafael didn't lower the weapon. How many? 3 shooters. One escaped. His expression darkened instantly. Where? Parking structure. Rafael looked toward Clara once. Then back toward his men. Lock the building down. The bodyguard hesitated. Police already arriving. Then move faster. The bodyguard disappeared immediately. Clara stared at Rafael in disbelief. You can't just command hospitals. His eyes remained fixed on the doorway. I can tonight. The answer chilled her. Not arrogance. True. Rafael turned toward her carefully. Can you walk? Yes. Why? Her shoulder burned like fire. Rafael noticed instantly. Of course he did. Without another word, he crouched slightly beside her. What are you doing? Move your arm around my neck. I can walk. Clara. The tone ended the argument automatically. Annoying. She reluctantly wrapped one arm around him. Then froze. Because up close. Really close. Rafael smelled like rain. Swoop. Wessie. Hospital antiseptic. Exhaustion. Human things. Not mafia things. He helped her toward the hallway while armed guards secured the floor. The hospital looked like a war zone. Broken lights. Shattered glass. Terrified nurses. Several police officers rushed upstairs. Then visibly froze upon seeing Rafael Moretti. Interesting. Fear again. Even law enforcement moved carefully around him. Clara noticed something else too. Rafael never let go of her. Not once. Outside the emergency exit, black SUVs waited beneath heavy rain. Rafael opened the back door himself. Clara stopped. No. Rain soaked both of them instantly. Rafael stared at her calmly. This is not a debate anymore. You said temporary. I was wrong. I'm not hiding inside some mafia mansion. Clara. No. Real anger cracked through her voice now. Because suddenly her life wasn't hers anymore. And she hated it. Reporters. Judith. Armed guards. All because she tried saving someone. Rafael looked at her silently while rain poured between them. Then quietly. Do you think I wanted this for you? The question hit harder than expected. Because no. He didn't. She could see that now. Rafael stepped closer slowly. Gray eyes exhausted beyond words. Someone is targeting everyone near me. And after tonight. Tiny pause. You are no longer near me. You are directly connected. The truth landed brutally. Clara looked away. Rain dripped from her hair onto the pavement. I had a normal life 3 days ago. Rafael's voice lower. No. You had a quiet life. That isn't the same thing. Silence. Then softly. You are already surviving alone before me. Damn him for noticing that. Clara hated how carefully he listened. Hated how accurately he understood things she never said aloud. One of Rafael's guards approached quickly. Thus, Rafael looked over. The guard lowered his voice. We found Marco. The atmosphere changed instantly. Cold. Dangerous. Clara saw it happen. Rafael Moretti disappeared again. Replaced by the man people feared. Alive? Yes. Where? Warehouse district. Rafael nodded once. Then looked toward Clara. And made a decision. No. The guard blinked. Thus? She comes with me. Excuse me? Clara stared at him. Absolutely not. Rafael ignored her completely. But the guard looked uncertain. It could get dangerous. It already is. Rafael opened the SUV door again. Get in. Clara crossed her arms. No. Then Rafael did something unexpected. He stepped closer. Close enough his voice became quiet beneath the rain. On set. I need one honest person in the room when I ask him why. The sentence shattered her anger instantly. Because suddenly this wasn't about revenge. It was about betrayal. 11 years. Marco mattered to him. And Rafael. Terrifying, powerful Rafael Moretti. Didn't trust himself completely anymore. He trusted her. Dear God. That realization was more frightening than the gunfire. 30 minutes later. The warehouse smelled like rust and rain. Marco Bellini sat tied to a chair beneath flickering lights, bruised and bleeding. Former right-hand man. Former friend. He looked up weakly when Rafael entered. Then noticed Clara beside him. And immediately laughed bitterly. There it is. Rafael stayed silent. Marco shook his head slowly. You changed for a waitress. The words echoed through the empty warehouse. Rafael's expression never shifted. What? Marco smiled sadly. Because you were becoming weak. Why protecting civilians? Why caring? Silence. Then Marco looked toward Clara. You know what the problem with men like him is? They start believing they can still be good. Clara's stomach tightened. Marco looked back toward Rafael. Your father built an empire because he never hesitated. You hesitate now. Rafael finally spoke. Quietly. Dangerously quietly. My father died alone. The warehouse fell silent. Marco's expression cracked slightly. Rafael stepped closer. And you confused fear with loyalty. Then after a long pause, he cut Marco free. Everyone froze. Including Clara. Marco stared at him in disbelief. What are you doing? Rafael's voice stayed calm. Ending it. No punishment? No revenge? Rafael looked toward Clara briefly. Then back at Marco. I'm tired. Real answer. Painfully real answer. Marco slowly stood. Shaken. Confused. Because mercy for men like Rafael didn't exist. Until now. Marco looked toward Clara one final time. Then quietly said, You really did change him. And walked away into the rain. The warehouse fell silent. Clara stared at Rafael. You let him go. Yes. He betrayed you. Yes. What? Rafael looked toward the storm outside, then answered honestly. Because if I keep becoming the man my father was, then you took that bullet for nothing. Silence filled the warehouse. Heavy. Emotional. Then Clara slowly walked toward him, close enough to hear his breathing. And softly, for the first time, she touched his hand willingly. Rafael looked down at it, then at her. And for once, the most feared man in Chicago looked completely defenseless. If you like this story, please do subscribe and like the video.